It's late, you're not even hungry, you ate 2 hours ago and your body knows it. But your hand is already reaching for the fridge door and somewhere behind your eyes, a quiet voice is asking for something fatty, something sweet, something now. You didn't decide this. A much older part of you did, and it has been making this same request for a very long time. To understand that voice, you have to leave the kitchen behind and walk back into a world with no kitchens at all. Picture the body you would have lived in for most of human history. Your day does not begin with food, it begins with the search for it. You walk. By the standards of the people who study modern foraging groups, you might cover 3 to 5 kilometers before you eat anything at all, and what you find is rarely rich. The meat, when there is meat, is lean. The sugar, when there is sugar, is a handful of fruit or, on a lucky day, wild honey. Most of your calories come from roots and tubers you have to dig out of the ground. There is nothing greasy here, nothing that melts in your mouth. Every mouthful is earned with distance and effort. In a world like that, a craving is not a flaw. It is a map. The pull toward fat and sugar points you again and again toward the densest fuel in a landscape that offers very little of it. The body that wanted those things most was the body that walked a little further, dug a little harder, and came home fed. That hunger kept your ancestors alive. So far, this is the story almost everyone has heard, and there is a famous scientific version of it. In 1962, a geneticist named James Neel proposed an idea that has shaped how people talk about weight ever since. He called it the thrifty genotype. The reasoning went like this. For most of the past human life swung between feast and famine. When food was plentiful, the people who could store it most efficiently as body fat survived the lean times that always followed. Over thousands of years, the argument goes this selected for genes that are thrifty, exceptional at saving energy. And then the famine stopped. Food became constant, and those careful, energy-saving genes, so useful in a hungry world, were left preparing you for a famine that never comes. It is a clean, satisfying explanation. Your body isn't broken. It's just running ancient software in the wrong century. There is only one problem. When researchers went looking for those thrifty genes, the evidence did not line up as neatly as the story promised. This is where it gets interesting. Over the past 2 decades, scientists have scanned the human genome for the fingerprints that strong natural selection tends to leave behind. If fat storage had really been a powerful survival advantage, those fingerprints should be all over the genes linked to body fat. For the most part, they aren't. The biologist John Speakman, who has spent years testing this idea, points out that the signs of positive selection for fat storage are largely missing, and that at some of these genes, the faint signal that does appear seems to favor leanness instead. The famous proof cases don't hold up well either. Pacific Island populations are often described as living examples of thrifty genes, yet researchers who looked closely at the archaeology found that many of those groups were not actually shaped by repeated famine at all. The neat story had been stretched to cover places it didn't fit. None of this means the cravings aren't real or that the deep past didn't shape your body. It means the specific explanation, the one printed on the title of this very idea, is far from settled. Researchers still debate it, and the alternative is stranger than the original. Speakman offers a different picture, and it begins not with hunger, but with being hunted. For a very long stretch of our history, something was always trying to eat us. A body carrying too much weight is a slower body, and a slower body gets caught. So for millions of years, there may have been quiet, constant pressure to stay lean and quick, not to get fat, but to avoid becoming a meal. Then, somewhere around 2 million years ago, that pressure began to ease. Fire weapons and life in cooperative groups slowly took the large predators off the table. And once nothing was culling the heavier, slower individuals, the ceiling on body fat had nothing holding it down. In this version, your body never gained a clever strategy for storing fat. It simply lost a break. With the predators gone, the upper limit on fatness was free to drift by nothing more than chance across the generations. Speakman calls this the drifty gene idea, and it flips the whole story. You may not be hoarding fuel for a disaster that never arrives. You may just be living in a body that stopped being told to stay light. It would be tidy to end there, but honest science rarely is. Other researchers have pushed back. Andrew Prentice and his colleagues argue that famine still mattered, because famine doesn't only kill, it also collapses fertility, and a force that strong could have shaped the body even over the last several thousand years. So the question is genuinely open. Famine or freedom from predators or some mixture of both stretched across timescales we are still arguing about. What everyone agrees on is narrower and quieter than the popular story. The world you live in now looks almost nothing like the one your body was assembled for. And that mismatch is the part you can actually feel. The cravings that once pointed toward rare, hard-won food now open onto something your ancestors could never have imagined. Foods engineered, tested, and refined to be as close to impossible to stop eating as a laboratory can make them. Fat and sugar not buried in a tuber or hidden at the top of a tree, but stacked on a shelf, lit from above, available at any hour, asking nothing of you. Your ancestors tracked a wounded animal across open grassland for 3 days to earn a single meal. You feel a flicker of irritation when the delivery app says 40 minutes. That is the real shape of it, not a body that is failing you, a body that is still doing exactly what it learned to do in a world that rewrote the rules faster than any body could follow. So the next time it's late and you're not hungry and your hand is already on the fridge door, you might pause for just a second. The voice asking for fat and sugar isn't weakness, and it probably isn't a famine alarm either. It's something older and stranger than that. It's an ancient body built for a world of distance and scarcity, standing quietly in a world that no longer exists, still listening for a danger that long ago walked away.